Alrighty, I'm going to be trying a full new playthrough for Planet Crafter. My name's Kane, and this is going to be my first quote-unquote official recorded playthrough. So we're going to go with Kane's Land, because why not? And I could start, I'm just going to start with the base. Keep it simple. Standard experience. And let's begin.
Emergency. Correct your trajectory. Imminent impact. Imminent impact.
I will say I've had this game since it was in early access, and I do absolutely adore it. And a lot has changed since early access. And I will say that, like, it changed for the better. Alright, so I have to create... I have first steps at the top left. I could speed through it because I've been through this game way too many times to to count at this point. But yeah, you are basically a prisoner that was sent to terraform this planet for life. And you're sent here with by Sentinel Corp. So it's welcome to your assigned planet. Your mission is to advance the terraformation process of this world. You'll need to generate O2, heat, and pressure. First reach 172 Ti and create a blue atmosphere. And there's going to be a lot more of these message tablets that float around. You'll just have to be able to explore and find them. You also start off in this giant crater. And you don't want to build in it for permanent housing. So I'm just going to craft a backpack, and you see how you have a limited amount of space while your backpack expands that. Pretty straightforward. And as you progress, you'll be able to upgrade your backpack because it's just a tier 1. As well as expand the spaces that you have for equipment slots, essentially. So I want to get an oxygen tank, which increases my oxygen capacity. I have to get cobalt, iron, and magnesium. And yes, everything is just scattered on the ground. Grab some ice. And then silicon and magnesium to create all of the chips that I'm going to need for basic game functions. You'll also find stashes throughout the world as well. You can just come up to them, check them out. Blueprint microchips are really valuable early on because it unlocks more crafting recipes in the bigger crafting menus that you can access later on. Construction and destruction are like the most important ones right now. I could worry about the torch later. titanium, iron, and then a little bit of silicone to create the opening for the first little hovel you can create. Also, it's hard to see now with the atmosphere, but there is a crash over there, and obviously another moon. And you could explore the crashes in this game, which is one of the main reasons you get a flashlight. Right, and I forgot to pick up the silicone. There we go. Now, whenever you enter a structure that you've created or you started off in, your O2 will replenish, regardless of your energy status. And you'll see energy status be a bigger factor later on. Now that I'm starting to build things, it's going to start saying, like, hey, you need to start producing energy. Your most rudimentary level of energy is your wind turbine, which just takes 1 iron. Pretty straightforward. Now it says energy restored, but this game doesn't count life compartments as something requiring a regular draw of energy. It just prefers that you have any amount of energy to start off with. You see how there's technically a hitbox? It used to be you could just build these right next to each other with little to no worry about the hitbox. I mean, obviously there's still clipping, and you can still bunch things together, but it's not as aggressive as it was previously. Let's see. The exoskeleton's going to be able to expand the slots you have on the person for equipment, and you can only get it from a tier 2 crafting station, the tier 1 exoskeleton. I'm going to convert some ice to water and drink up. Silicone and magnesium. Also, a nice little quality of life change they did is whenever you upgrade one of these items that are upgradable, you don't have to remove it or re-equip it. It just automatically upgrades in the slot. Let's see. T1 drills, titanium and iron. And then all of the screens were just a variation of iron, silicone, and cobalt. Now with this screen, it shows you your unlock path, but also allows you to decode the blue chips you gain. And just like this one, I got the agility boots, which allows you to run faster. And technically jump higher, but it's strictly just a movement speed thing for now. But it requires fabric, which is a later game item, but you can find them in the caches throughout the world. And as you can see, I am doing very minimal up here because I've not been producing anything else just yet. There is also atmospheric events, like we are experiencing a meteor shower. Now, you can go inside, and you can avoid potentially getting hurt by these. There is an achievement, though, of just getting fully bodied by one of the meteorites. And you could actually trigger different meteorite storms based on a later mechanic. But these things tend to drop down and then produce various materials on the planet's surface. I'm just going to expand the base a little bit so I have some breathing room before setting anything else up. Very nice and magnesium. Now your veggie tubes are going to be a way to increase your oxygen. It's nice that they gave you these pop-ups, but I've been playing for so long, I wish I could just disable them. And your most basic seed is the Lerma seed. It just basically turns the system on once it's fully grown. There are later seeds that you can acquire later on that give you a different buff. Okay. I'm curious why it's not. Okay. There we go. Might be a little bit better. The map, for the most part, is the same. Your crash site, like the actual location of your pod, will change throughout the basin, which is nice, so it's not super predictable where you're gonna land. And at one point, I don't know if it's still a thing, but you can set your pod to land in different biomes. Or at least you used to be able to. Alright, titanium silicone. There's definitely more like unique, quote unquote, materials that you can acquire through the different biomes, but there's a lot of like just general basic materials floating around. And if you can collect it without scanning it, quote unquote, that's because it was dropped by a meteorite. So technically it is considered like a loose material on the ground. Whereas the materials that you scan in, they're more like you're mining them, because it's technically a mining gun. Alrighty. I'm so used to my last site being like all the way at the other end over there, so to have it right here is kind of off. Yep. So if you have less power in your network than you're able to support the running machines, your low power hits, you no longer generate anything. The only thing you do still generate, like I said before, is the oxygen. I'm just going to move my operations up over here. One part habit, one part just preference. I really like having a more central location. I'm not saying this is perfectly central. Once I unlock the map, I can show everybody what I mean by central location. that heat. And then loot those precious resources. I'll grab that in a little bit. But first, grab all of this fun stuff. So you get messages every now and again, depending on your milestone that you reach. They are extremely hard to read early on because it does require a receiving setup, which you don't get innately. The receiver, I think, it's this one, the communication antenna, which requires 4.00 UPA. I'm not too familiar with the units. Right. But it takes a decent while to get there. You have to get the transmission screen and then the communication antenna before you can read those messages. This game is multiplayer, and it does it is a lot of fun multiplayer. It also is pretty decent and calming playing it solo, especially on relax mode, which is what I do 9 times out of 10. Let's get that started up again. No, iridium is a quote-unquote rarer material, which is needed for the heater, which will start generating us heat. Very self-explanatory. I know it's so complicated. So for iridium, you have to go over into... There's a cave over there. Again, it's hard to see because of the atmosphere. But the iridium is all in there to mine out. And something I like to do is I like to build little pocket stations where it's one door, one habitat, and storage in that location for when I go out and to collect material from different locations. I just received the T2 backpack upgrade. Which is great. murked by a meteor. So now I have a little bit more room to play around with, which is always good. Silicon titanium for the next oxygen upgrade. Just grabbing a bunch of locals, resources, and whatnot. Okay. Let's get those going. And then I need more magnesium and silicone. Always more silicone. Let there be light. And yes, your range can extend pretty far. In terms of building, you can't deconstruct that far out, unfortunately. Otherwise, I would totally snipe my my original habitat. If it was empty, to be clear. What? Nar. I'm assuming that's probably about. Okay, back to the game. Oop, whoa. One moment. There we go. Then... This is my first stream, so I'm still working things out. Let me know if anything's too loud. That's weird. Okay, I'll figure it out at some point. Why it's not showing the right streaming count. Not streaming count, viewer count. I can English. But you get a ton of new messages before you ever unlock the ability to read them, so you just have to like run through all of them at some point. Just like the one downside, I think. They really should have had the messages timer trigger after you unlock the ability to read the messages. But I mean, honestly, if that's my only gripe about the game, I'm very happy about it. Alright, and then these are the Iridium Caves. Which apparently... Titanium. I always get this point. It's like I go out far enough, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot the one thing I need to open the door to the habitat. Yeet. Okay, I can hide and open stats. I'm still learning how to do Twitch streaming. And kind of just doing it all solo, so it should be fun. Fun experience for everyone all around. Alright, and then Iridium is one of the handful of materials that glow, which is very nice in terms of like trying to find it, making it super easy. Now, another feature this game has is even though it's fully open world, and you can, in theory, just habitat hop to explore everything, there is still a level of like natural progression, quote unquote, and I'll show you that in a moment. Aluminium, another rare one. Which room do I have? I will save the space. So, natural progression in the form of like ice blocking the way. And if you get stuck at a natural progression point, you can look at it and it'll tell you when it starts melting. So you have a way to set like goalposts for yourself. Now, you do start off with some oxygen canisters that you can carry around. I tend to not really carry them unless I and I don't really use them unless I absolutely need to. Because to me the mechanic's a little bit clunky at times. But also, later on, there's really no need for them. Like, they're not used in their further crafting recipes or anything. So, to each their own. Alright, we can just check on our stats. No heat yet because no heaters. The oxygen's going up very slowly because I only have one basic plant in the basic grower. The pressure's heading up steadily because of the drills I have. But now... And I overspent the energy. Oops. Luckily, that's an easy fix. Just build more energy generating items. And heaters, unfortunately, are like one of the biggest early game energy draws. If we go into the screen, you can see that the heaters are always going to be the highest. I have two of them, so they only do 1 kilowatt each. You can see 1 kilowatt is significantly higher than anything else that I have in the works. Sorry, please excuse me. And now it's just iron and silicon collection time. It's going to be a lot of just iron silicon collection time. Iron especially is an early game resource, but it's also just a generally good resource to have on hand. Because most early game recipes, they expand by increasing the amount of iron they require, as well as other materials, but it's mostly iron. I have a few different options to go from here. I'll probably just explore a bit more and try and find more of the caches, because like I haven't even accessed that one that's been over there that I keep looking at. And once I loot and take home the caches, I can see what's what and hopefully in one of these caches I get a better oxygen producing seed, because that would be very nice. Oh, okay. There's a super alloy in this, so I'll take it. And base Larma seed, which is fine. It'll basically turn on, quote unquote, the other grower oxygen generating unit. Throw that in there. Yay, solar panels. They are significantly better than wind turbines. Let me double check what I need for a solar panel. And the problem is, they require a bunch more resources. So it's iron, 2 cobalt, and a silicone. Silicone. Alright, so that drastically increases our ability to produce energy. Okay, silicone, so I need just iron and titanium. I know it's titanium, but I always just say it weird. It's an old habit. Titanium. Alright. There we go. It's like, where's the iron? There's typically a ton of iron around here. Alright. So one big advantage of being able to get to these crashes early is getting the material that's in them. So you can destruct this debris later on, but not all of it can be deconstructed with the basic chipset. There we go. These are significantly better seeds than the ones I have at the base. So those. And then I have a few different outfit options. And run back out. Let's see if I get hit. Also, even though the meteors can hit and hurt and potentially kill you, the meteors don't actually damage your buildings, which is nice. Because if they did, there's no way to quote-unquote fix them. You just have to rebuild them. But they don't damage the building. But I will say, earlier on, if they hit a living pod that you were in and you were close enough to the blast site, you could get hit with it. Also, this is what I look like, but I prefer this one. Alright, let's see what this ship gives me. The mining speed upgrade. Which is helpful for quote-unquote harder materials, but there tends to not be that many materials that are like too exclusively harder. Right, and you'll also notice that as the seed matures, you'll see what like the seed actually blooms into in these tubes. Some of the plants are just so pretty. I'm just trying to maximize the amount of oxygen producing plants that I have with the better bonuses. Low-key kind of flattered that bots think I want AI viewers. I guess. I don't know. I mean, I really don't care about the viewer count for the most part. It's nice to interact with like an audience, I would assume, but since I've never experienced it, I'm not really missing out. You know? I also say though, in terms of like bot viewers and stuff like that, if you're not honest with your viewer count and whatnot, why bother? Alright, next level veggie tube, always good. So it requires one more ice and silicone. Also, I can't tell if my stream ever gets, like, paused or anything, because I'm having smooth gameplay. But every time I look over at my Twitch dash, I think it's called, or my stream manager, it looks like my game is, like, pausing every few bits. Yeah, just more food for thought. Better backpack, which requires 2 things of aluminium. Lucky for me, I have 2 of them. So that works. Bigger backpack is always better. Oh yeah, if you don't have room for it, they will just drop right into the world when you deconstruct things. And it is a 1-to-1 ratio where you're getting back what you put into the craft, which is another really nice touch. There are some games that you may get it all back, and I can't stand when you're in those positions. Like, what do you mean? I put so much time and effort finding these materials. Obviously, early on, with the abundance of materials around, it's not a huge problem, but later on, when you're using, like, 20 plus pieces of particular materials, not getting all of it back, or even just enough where you just need, like, 1 or 2 pieces of material to finish a build, is a little bit infuriating. At least for me. And yes, the indoor ladder. Great for going up. But yeah, you can stack the buildings. They do lock onto each other. I'm going to wait, though, until I get the 2x2, because these are all 1x1s. Which I'm pretty sure is a blueprint unlock, not a milestone unlock. Granted, I could be very wrong. It could be a milestone unlock. Nope, it's a blueprint unlock. So I have to find it in the wild. Which means I better get cracking, I guess. I'll grab that titanium. Oh wait, I have a place I can go, so. That means I have to probably loot that a bit more. Let's see. A nicer seed, some food, some fabric, and some aluminum, and some food. Yeah, there's also debris, which is another reason why you need to get that deconstructor chip as soon as possible. Yeah, I'm just looting with reckless abandon. That's the other reason why I always build these little outhouse situations. Because that means I could just dump the excess and then go back into it. And then I can figure out exactly what I want to do with the stuff I grab from exploration. Also, during your travels and when you're exploring shipwrecks, you might come across broken, quote-unquote, versions of different items. You can't repair them. You can't automatically add them to your system, and you do not get them as blueprints if you deconstruct them, but you do get all the materials. Just to simplify it, I'm just gonna throw the heater in here that I just got. Drink some water, and I'm back at it. This should be the last run in here, unless both the chests at the end of that corridor are like stock full. Now, this one is like baby's first wreck. There's a very straightforward layout, a ton of computer pieces you can loot later on, so it gets you into the idea of there's always something to expand on. There's no hidden walls. But another thing that's kind of important to note is that eventually the other wrecks, they have fusion generators that you could turn on and repower. So these are, so every wreck is some degree of multi-stage, if that makes sense. Most are triple stage, where you have the basic exploration that's getting you the chests that were like surface level. Then you have your tier 2 deconstruction, which allows you to access the more advanced crafting pieces. And then you get the last stage, which is powering on the wreck and exploring further. So even though it's like the same map, you're going through a completely new layout each time, it feels like, at least to me. First, let's see if I got what I was looking for. Nope, I got the compass. Which is fine, I'm just not gonna use it for a little bit, because I don't have a need for the compass. At least not yet. Hey, look, the progress screen, finally. Iron, silicone, silicone. So we're going from barren to blue sky, which is the first big step. I have to see when I get the food grower. Because it's getting to the point where I'm going to need to start producing more food. It is oxygen, of course. Which means more veggie tubes. Iron, titanium, silicone, magnesium. Iron, ice, magnesium, silicone. The reason why I don't really care if these are like perfectly aligned right now is because I know that eventually I will not have them in here anymore. Same with most of this. I will be completely redoing it once I get the spaces that I want. Got a bunch of texts. I'm so popular. Okay. But yeah, the food growers are connected to the... I almost said hip bone. They're currently connected to oxygen, which is 10 parts per trillion PPT? I don't know. As much as I want to say I'm not a scientist, I'm technically not a scientist. Getting to the point where it's like, I need to start producing food. I also need to start finding other wrecks and whatnot and working on that. So I have a few options. Let me put down the aluminum. I definitely need to do water. But we can start working towards that one, which might be good. So I need 3 iron, 2 titanium, and a silicone. So I just need titanium, which I can do on the way up there. Now, because of my history with the game, I know roughly where everything is, but there is slight variations, which is a nice change in what to expect every single time. Iron, which I can totally get from the wreck itself. This isn't ominous. Also, this ice up here is connected to the same cave that's down below. Now, it says it starts melting, but there are ways to cheese into here by just jumping and finding an entrance. I do not recommend it unless there is a clear and easy way to get in and out of said entrance, because you can very easily get stuck. Alrighty. Next wreck. And right outside the wreck we have our first cache. Now I can build the blueprint screen anywhere. You don't have to have just the one. I just prefer the ones, that way it kind of forces me to go back home and reminds me to go and adjust, and drop off, and maintain the main homestead. These little boxes, 9 times out of 10, they're microchips. And the reason why I deconstruct the boxes is not just because I need the iron, but because I don't want to ever have to double tap and like realize that I've looted a box 2 to 5 times already. Food cur! Oh, thank you. Okay. So, this is the take-home pile. And yes, there are some milestones that just unlock a ton of things. And you just get spammed with unlock messages. Now, an interesting thing is, in the more advanced wrecks, there are false walls, So it's good to have that deconstructor chip and just walk around with the deconstructor option active. Because then it will highlight whatever it can target, which is nice. Let's see what options we have in here. Not my options. Let's go with deconstructing these things so I can show you the thing behind it, which I believe is another generator. Yep, there it is. Ooh, beacon. Cool. So, the beacon acts like a beacon. It leaves like a pin, and you can change the color of it, and that pin is visible anywhere on the planet. Though they may have changed, I don't use beacons that often. I tend to have a pretty decent sense of direction, so I don't really use landmarker beacons, or like... I use landmarks, not beacons, I should say. Let's continue this path first and foremost. Now, this is the... Let me get close enough. The fusion reactor. This is what powers the ship once you get to the point where you can insert fusion cores into this section. And that's your next level of searching around the ship. Another thing you could find during wrecks and whatnot are these messages. So, cargo ship Priella 4, machinery log number 436. This morning, on our 17th day of space travel to Stigmar, the ship inexplicably exited hyperspace velocity. The navigation tools went crazy and the ship lost power, as if it had been drained by some exterior thing. We're going to try and make an emergency landing on this unreported planet. I'm not sure what we'll find there. There seems to be a huge storm on the surface of this planet. I hope we make it. And year's 3021. I'm just quickly checking to see if there's any... Okay, uranium is another one of those glowing rare materials. Okay, yeah, so let me swap this one out for that. Because right now I just want to run through and grab the blueprint chips in hopes of getting the upgrades I want. The blueprints will not allow you to unlock things that are on the unlock path early, because it's a whole nother pool that the blueprint ship pulls from. Got 4 chips so far, so I think it's worth heading back and seeing what's what. Eventually travel gets a lot easier, but until then, it's just hoofing it. I just realized that no one can see the meters at the bottom of the screen. Let me adjust that real quick. Because the bottom right is just locations. So I wonder if anyone still uses Streamlabs or if I'm just testing out old tech, I guess. Potentially. There we go. Alright, maybe that works a little bit better. At least now I can see my statistics in the bottom left. The chat box is just going to be in the way. I'll have to play around with it at some point. Let's see. The next level agility boots, the next level mining speed, the corner living compartment, and the recycling machine. So either I just completely missed my chance of getting it, or I'm not looking at the listing close enough. Here's the vertical stairs. Okay, where's the living compartment that I want, though? That's the real question. The glass living compartment. Okay, so I have no clue where it is, which is a bit of a problem for me. I am, however, going to start growing food, and I think for the first time, this is first time streaming, it wasn't that bad. We're gonna save, and we're gonna call it good. So thank you for joining me, and everyone have a great day. If I can end my stream.